Hello, my name is Kate Hedberg. I'm the Electrical Division Manager here at GoEngineer. Thank you for joining us today for learning about what's new in SOLIDWORKS Electrical 2021. So there's a variety of things that are new in SOLIDWORKS Electrical. We have new abilities to customize terminal drawing symbols. We have options to see who created symbols and manufacture parts. We have indicators on our selection boxes now. We have additional options to not include certain parts on our bill of material. We have a built-in Excel automation add-in. We have additional wire management tools, improvements to our routing paths. We have ability to have each one of our cables have an individual cable route. We have the long-awaited environment archiver. And we have a new electrical viewer. Okay, so the first thing we're going to talk about today is the custom terminal drawing symbols. So when you have a terminal strip in your schematic, we've had the ability to manage that terminal strip and then the option to generate terminal strip drawings automatically. Now we have additional options in the terminal strip drawing configurations in order to customize some of our symbols. So inside of the terminal strip drawing configuration, we have more options on the symbols tabs. Before there was about 6 options or 6 different symbols that you could include. Now we have the 6 default ones that we had already, and then we have a bunch of additional custom terminal types that we can add additional symbols for when we choose to use them. So this is just going to make our terminal drawings a little bit more customized, a little bit more tailored to our needs. So the next thing we're going to talk about is the ability to show creation and modification date and usernames on symbols and manufacturer parts and cables and title blocks. What I'm showing right now is I'm inside of SOLIDWORKS Electrical 2021. I'm going up to the Library tab. I'm going to go to the Manufacturer Parts Manager. In here, we can actually search our filters by using like created by or modified columns, which we didn't have before. So right now, I'm searching for my own name, my own username, and we can see that there's been one part created by me. The created by stuff only applies to things that have been created in 2021 and not things that have been upgraded. So that's why you haven't seen all the other stuff I make. Okay, the next option here is the selection box indicator. So with selection boxes, going from left to right versus right to left inside of a drawing gives you different results when you select something. This is the same way with SOLIDWORKS CAD and most Windows platforms, that I've used at least. So now what we have in SOLIDWORKS Electrical is that we have this indicator on our cursor showing us. So if we're selecting from the lower right-hand corner and selecting these wires and symbols, you can see there's an indicator. Everything that's selected entirely in the box gets selected, and anything crosses over also gets selected when we're drawing it that way. If we're going from left to right and doing the same selection, you see that only those symbols and wires that were entirely encapsulated got selected. So now we have cursor feedback to show you, kind of what we're doing here. Okay, so the next thing that's been included in 2021 SOLIDWORKS Electrical is the ability to exclude parts from the bill of materials. So sometimes you want to represent a part in your bill of materials, and sometimes you want to represent stuff on the page but not have it show up in your bill of materials. So now we have options to do that. So what we're showing here is I'm going over to this motor symbol. I'm going to open up the component properties and go to the manufacturer parts and circuits. I already have a manufacturer part applied. I'm just going to the properties of it, and then I'm going to show you where that new checkbox is. So just a little way down in the first section, we have the option to exclude from bill of materials. It's saying, like, do we want to apply this to all elements that use this or just for this component? And I'm saying only for this component in this case, but you can choose otherwise if you want to. What we are doing now is we're going up to the report section on our project tab. In order to only see things that are supposed to be included in the project, we have filters. So on my bill of materials, we're going to only, we're going to do not show excluded manufacturer parts. So in this case, it's only going to show us stuff that has not been excluded. So right now we can see everything except that motor part number. Perfect. Okay, so something that SOLIDWORKS Electrical has had for a while is the ability to do Excel automation. This allows you to essentially initiate new drawings and insert macros automatically from an Excel spreadsheet. Before it was like a little difficult to do some of the setups, if I'm going to be honest. What we have now is we have the ability to install an add-in into Excel to make this a lot easier, so we can select macros easier, and it just makes the whole automation process easier. So I'm inside of SOLIDWORKS Electrical. Up on the Import-Export tab, we have the Excel Automation button with a drop-down. We have the option to install the add-in, which I've already done, and we have the option to create a new file. You can have different templates if you want. I'm just going to use this default automation template. It's asked me where I want to save this Excel spreadsheet. I'm just going to save it on my desktop, the safest place ever. And it boots up Microsoft Excel for us automatically. So this is the format that template has. We have information about which the macro is, where it's going to be positioned, what page it's going to be on. Up on the SOLIDWORKS Electrical tab that we now have, we have the option to insert a macro, so it's going to look through our library of macros and allows us to select something that's actually in here in this macro selector. So this is going to be a lot easier than just memorizing the names of things. So I'm selecting this. I can specify his position. I'm going to insert him at 0, 0, because that's what I want to do. You can specify which file and document book he's in. Additionally, location and function information, or any additional variable information that you may have. So I'm going to leave it like this and leave everything else the defaults. When I'm back in electrical, I can click on the Excel automation button again and do Excel automation. Then it's going to ask me to select that Excel spreadsheet and click open, and it should generate this for us. There we go. So we didn't get any errors, which is awesome. We have an additional page over on the left-hand side. And here is that same macro inserted in position onto the title block that we chose it to be on, which is kind of awesome. So that's the new Excel automation updates. They are pretty cool. Definitely reach out to us here at GoEngineer if you need help setting those up or want more information. Okay, next. We have some additional wire management tools, which are pretty useful. Here in SOLIDWORKS Electrical, I have a very simple circuit where I have two wires essentially coming into that S1 symbol. What we're showing right now is just showing that the nodal indicator that's down there where my cursor is, he is showing that the connection path is kind of moving around depending on how it's connected or if it's connected. What we have now in the project configurations under the general tab is we have the wire management sections. I'm going to uncheck remove wire when disconnected. So what that's going to allow me to do is if I've had a wire, I've set up like maybe wire numbering information or that connection path, it's going to retain itself whether he's connected to a symbol or not anymore. So I'm going to click OK. What we can do here is when I disconnect that wire, you see that nodal indicator no longer moves. When I reconnect him, he no longer moves either, so he's not just guessing anymore. If I right-click and edit the connection path and specifically choose a connection path, like I'm doing over here, when I move him again, he shouldn't be rotating around. So I'm selecting a new cabling order. There's going to be two wires going into that B3 battery, is what I want to do. Hit escape to close out of that interface. I'm going to number those new wires. Just going to agree to this because yes, I do want to number them. Just to note, it's only numbering things that are have not been numbered yet. So, and nothing that was already existing. So what we're doing here is when I disconnect it, that number stays on that wire and doesn't disappear, which is awesome. So when I reconnect it, it still stays in the same orientation. He has the same wire number, and he has the same information, which will be helpful. So that's kind of a brief overview of some of the wire management tools that 2021 provides. Okay, so on to the 3D section. We have some additional abilities to define routing paths in SOLIDWORKS Electrical 3D. What we're able to do now is we're able to add arcs and splines to our routing paths. And just a little background, what a routing path is it's a general guideline of where wires should go. So wires can route automatically from point to point, but sometimes you want to just suggest that they go a specific way. So you can draw, with air quotes, a simple 3D sketch in order to direct where the wires should go. So the wires jump onto the routing path, get as close as they can to their destination, and jump off and figure out how to get home. So inside of SOLIDWORKS CAD with the SOLIDWORKS Electrical 3D add-in turned on, I'm going to create a routing path. I'm going to create a new sketch. I want it to be pink, so I'm going to have it be pink, and I'm going to hit OK. So just letting you know that we have a new 3D sketch that's been created. What I'm going to do here is I like to hide things that I don't need, and I like to do center or construction lines in order to define little straight line segments. I do this because the routing engine doesn't see the construction lines, but I use it to kind of define my point in space and kind of lock my routing path in reference to something, because sometimes it gets a little confusing when you're doing 3D routing. So I set those up. I'm going to do my spline now. I'm bringing up here to the frame of this scooter that I have. I'm adding a piece of straight line. I'm going to add some relations to make them tangent to each other because that's nicer. I'm rotating around to get a different view and making sure that that straight piece of line segment is actually attached to that frame. I don't want him just floating out in space. So there he is. Okay, so what I'm going to do now is I'm going to draw a spline and connect that piece of straight routing path and connect it down there to that other piece of construction line that I drew. I'm making this spline tangent to that construction line and then tangent to that original straight line piece. I'm going to delete this spline point because I don't need him anymore, and I'm going to turn on my control polygon, which is my favorite way to manage 3D splines because sometimes they can be a bit of a handful. So I'm using this control polygon to move this around and adjust it so it feels about right for what I want it to do. So what I've done here is I've created a routing path with splines in it. I'm just unhiding those wheels, and hooray. So now we have more realistic routing paths with the ability to do that. You can also add arcs as well if you want to. I just did splines. Okay, so now we're going to get on to individual cable routes. So there's been kind of a shortcoming, I guess, in the past where when you have multiple cables in a project, if you route them together, they're all in the same routing assembly, which makes it kind of difficult to flatten an individual cable if we need to document that a little bit more in depth. So what 2021 has allowed is you have the option to say that, hey, this cable gets its own routing assembly, which can be individually flattened. Prior to this, we had been, one of the solutions was putting harnesses, I guess cables into a harness, and then you can flatten those individual single cable harness assemblies, which was kind of unnecessary now that we have this. So what we do here is I'm back in the schematic portion of the tool. I'm just right-clicking on this and going to the cable properties. So we're at cable W2. If I scroll down a little bit, I think we have the option to separate the 3D route assembly. So this means that he will get his own 3D route assembly. I'll click OK. So I access that from the schematic itself. You can also go to the project tab and the cables manager. You can expand this. You can go to the W1 conductor and actually go to the properties there as well and do the same thing. So you can do that. All right, I'm going to close out of this. Oh, also you can see here, just to note that they are separate. So I'm going to close out of this. I'm going to go to the SOLIDWORKS CAD tool. I'm going to do route cables. When I do that, I already have all my settings set up, so I don't need to really wrestle with the routing parameters, and I'm just going to hit OK and wait for it for the few moments that it takes to route this. So what we'll see here is that they're going to be separate routing assemblies. We'll also see that the cable on the other side of the cooler should be following that funny route path that we made. So that all should be pretty good. So you can actually see the software here is going in and out of different sketches in order to, draw this stuff for us. But it's faster than I can route a 3D spline and put a sweep along it. So pretty happy with it. You can see here, now we have one cable that's closer to us. We can select him here. So he's running along there on the edge of the frame. Oh yeah, it's that second cable. And it's connecting to the battery. So it's going from a switch up to that battery, going through a cable gland, kind of oversized. And you can see here, that's our other cable that's following that spline path. So that's pretty cool. So you can have separate cable assemblies inside of SOLIDWORKS Electrical 2021. Okay, so I know that people have been wanting this for a while. It's called the Environment Archiver. It is a separate executable from Electrical, in addition to archiving your environments in Electrical. What this allows you to do is it allows you to back up your electrical environment, so all of your symbols, manufacturer parts, projects, everything, into a special type of zip file and store it in case you need it, or if you need to switch servers, or if you need to, do anything. It's good to have them. So in case anything goes wrong, or you want to revert, or you want to move servers, or you're doing an upgrade. So we recommend doing environment archives, usually at least weekly, in order to back up your stuff. So with the environment archiver that we now have, makes it a little bit easier. I'm inside of SOLIDWORKS Electrical, and I can run the external archiver here. Here we can see that there's different options to archive all projects, all objects, any objects modified by user. We can run this. I can say yes. You can do archive objects modified by user since the last archive. So this has been something that we've been wanting to do for a long time, and we finally have it in 2021. So, okay. Last but not least is the electrical viewer. So it's important for people to be able to view their electrical projects without having to consume a license of SOLIDWORKS Electrical. What the electrical viewer allows you to do is it allows you to open up and view the project even while it's kind of in process of being designed, as opposed to having to wait for PDFs or DWGs. Okay, so I have the electrical viewer pinned here on my desktop. You can see here it's a list of all of my projects or recently used projects. This is the same like projects manager that you would see otherwise, except we don't have the options to delete or create new ones or archive anything. We just have the ability to see things. So if we open up a specific project, it's just letting me know there's a user in it, which is fine. It's showing me all of the documents that are inside of that project, and I can click on them and view them. I can zoom in and out. I can export DWGs and PDFs. Again, no drawing tools because this is a viewer. It's not a drawing tool, but you can do exports if you want to. So this is the SOLIDWORKS Electrical Viewer. It is a separate executable. It can be installed on the same computer that SOLIDWORKS Electrical is installed on. So that's what I have going on right now. Okay, so that's kind of the rundown of what's new in SOLIDWORKS Electrical 2021. Just a reminder, We have additional support and services. We have tech support, so if you need to call in and figure out what's going on with your software, we're here to help you. We have SOLIDWORKS training to help you get up to speed and running faster with your SOLIDWORKS products, including SOLIDWORKS Electrical. We also have 3D printing services if that's something else anybody needs. Okay. As well as those things, we do hosting, we do SOLIDWORKS PDM implementations, we do renderings and animations, and we do provide CAD automation capabilities. So just wanted to say thank you for joining us today, and enjoy SOLIDWORKS Electrical 2021.